delicate, but potent.
Teddy told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound.
Hello everyone, it's Regis again from the Practice Research Agency, where every day we're having a look at what's happening in our industry, but particularly, not so much what's happening business-wise, but particularly what kind of insights are being generated, what's being published, what's being said, and what looks like it's being disseminated into marketing. And a little while ago, something came across my feed that immediately raised some suspicions in terms of the insight quality that I was reading here. Now, before I go into that, I just need to say that being a researcher, one tends to be somewhat contrarian, pessimistic, taking the opposing view, because that's what we do. We examine the null hypothesis, don't we? People come to us with an idea and we go, oh, I don't know. We might look at the reverse end of that and be quite pessimistic and quite overly analytical about things. And that is very annoying to people in real life, someone like that. But in a researcher, these are the qualities that you want. You want someone like that. You want someone who is critical, who looks at things with a critical eye, and who sets a high bar. And I think that's what we want to do today. We want to set a bit of a high bar and have a look at these insights that have been disseminated. And look, it is a critique of these insights. There's no doubt about that. It is definitely a critique. I will not be naming the organization that disseminated these insights. They come from an insights event. I'm not interested in shaming or naming any organization, because let he who is without sin cast the first stone, right? No, I'm not going to be critiquing people or organizations that are perfectly reputable in every other way. But I am going to critique the output. I am going to critique the content. I'm going to play the ball. Okay, I'm not going to play the team. I'm going to play the ball. Okay, so here we go. This is me playing the ball when it comes to insights. So this came from what might be referred to as an insights event. Everything I'm about to read out was published online on social media, in fact. Okay, it just came across my feed. I wasn't looking for it. It just came across my feed. And I guess it was a sort of a market research presentation from this organization where they invite a number of insights managers, people that they've worked with, no doubt, and giving them a kind of a free set of insights about Australian society. I believe that's the only thing I could call it. It's about Australian society. And when I saw these, I immediately became suspicious. The reason I was suspicious is because these don't look like marketing insights at all, but they were presented to marketing people as marketing insights. There's no doubt about that. These look political to me. Totally political. And when I say political, I don't mean government politics. I don't mean what's going on in politics with the government. I mean politics inside marketing. Okay? It's marketing politics. This was not insight, but marketing politics. Marketing theatre, or insight theatre, if you will. It was stuff that sounds good, it feels good, it signals something nice, but it doesn't actually explain real consumer behavior at all. In fact, I think it's painting a very false picture of what's going on, and I'll tell you why. There are a number of insights here. I'm going to go through all of them because I have issues, serious issues with every single one of them. I have issues with the entire narrative. I have issues with all of the insights, every single one of them that are being presented, because they are being presented as some sort of trends about the Australian consumer in 2025/2026. I think this only happened a few months ago. It doesn't matter. It's very recent. And let's go through these, and I'll flash these up on the screen. I'll put these up on the screen as well so you can read these insights as well. You may or may not have had the same immediate reaction that I've had, but I've been in the insight business a very long time. I guess I look at these things with a bit of a different eye to a lot of people. Now, the first headline is that I'll read it out word for word as it was online. I'm not going to put words in their mouth, okay? I'm going to critique it, but I'm not going to put words in their mouth. So this is exactly as it appeared. This is the first overall overarching headline, if you like. Okay, so this is a very important, it's the overarching headline. So the message is clear. The Aussie battler is back. They're resilient, they're pragmatic, and they're finding new ways to preserve joy and connection in a tough environment. Whoa, let's start with that headline. Firstly, the message is clear. Whoa, okay, now that in itself in market research, that's a bit of a statement because the message in market research is rarely clear. And what message? The message is apparently the Aussie battler is back. Now, back from where was the Aussie battler? Oh, I don't have a fundamental problem with the term Aussie battler, but I have a fundamental issue with the term as it is used in this context, and I have an issue with it when it was used in a political context. And it was a political term. It was picked up by the Howard government and used to call their voting base Howard's battlers. Battlers. Now, who calls other people battlers? If you call someone else a battler, then I guess, I don't know, are you saying that you're not a battler? Are these people presenting these insights, these market researchers in this organization, are they saying that the Aussie battler, but they're not a battler, but other people are battlers? Is that what they're saying? That they're not battling? They're not battling. They're not paying a mortgage. They're not trying to raise children. They're not trying to do any of that stuff. They're not trying to pay rent. They're not dealing with the cost of living, even though they might be market researchers. Are you saying that the rest of us are not battling and that there are these battlers and so therefore the rest of us are above these battlers? No, I'm sorry. I don't like that term because it is hierarchical and it is very patronizing to the people, I guess, that they want to call battlers. Now, let me go back to the origin of this thing about Aussie battlers. And this, when I say I don't have an issue with the term, I don't have an issue with the term historically, because it's a concept that goes back to the very earlier days of Australia, at a time when Australians actually were battlers. They were going to war. They were battling overseas with a huge per capita loss of young men, literally battling and dying. They were battling the country. There was a very small population and a very big country and an inhospitable country in many respects as well. A harsh land with limited resources, so they were battling that as well. Okay, and that generation, those generations, all of those people over those years performed a minor miracle in battling to get this country to the point where it is that we're enjoying, most of us are enjoying today. But hey, it's not 1930. Okay, it's not even 1960, it's 2025. And where are Australians battling now? What is the Aussie battler battling now? What are we battling? And I'm not saying that we've all got it easy. I'm not saying that at all. Okay, far from it. I'm saying that what does the term Aussie battler mean now? Because I know what it used to mean, and I respect what it used to mean because it was true. People were battling on the whole, right? But not anymore. Not anymore. So therefore, if we're really being honest, the only real definition left for the Aussie battler is an economic definition, struggling to pay the bills on a small wage, on minimum wage, is that what insight means? Because it doesn't really say. I don't know what it says, actually. I don't know what it says. The Aussie battler is back, which means what? That we used to have them and they went away. That I agree with. Yeah, Australians used to be battlers and now we're not so much. I agree, but now we're back. And now I'm really suspicious. What do you mean we're back? Why are we back? What are we battling? We're battling to pay the bills, yeah. Some people are, sure. Battling to pay the rent, taking up a huge percentage of people's incomes, mortgages, ditto. Is that what we mean by battling nowadays? Because we're not really traipsing off to war. We're not really engaged. A tiny fraction of the population is engaged in agricultural and mining and all that sort of stuff. So what are we battling? Battling traffic, I guess. All right. It also says Australians are resilient and pragmatic and finding ways to preserve joy and connection in a tough environment. What does that even mean? This is what I call the bogus insight number one. I do like that word, bogus. The bogus insight number one, resilience. I really like this one. Now, we're told Australians are turning to familiarity, control, and health to navigate uncertainty. And then, my personal favorite, the mateship spirit is returning. Now, This is why I started to get suspicious, because I read the term Aussie battler and mateship in the same paragraph, right? Aussie battler and mateship in 2025/2026. I read those in the same paragraph in this era. And I thought, whoa, okay. Well, this looks like a political speech, doesn't it? A marketing political speech. And in fact, let's face it, these words wouldn't be out of place in some BS political speech either, would they? But maybe even politicians are savvy enough not to use these words in 2026 because they know they're anachronistic words, and this is a recurring theme of these insights. They are using a lot of what I call anachronistic expressions, and they're not insights, they're just expressions, really. Now, the mateship spirit is returning. And again, what does mateship mean? Mateship in Australia, I guess it comes from adversity, from crisis, from war, from hardship, from survival. We bond over crises. And let's be clear, that's not a uniquely Australian thing. Mateship is not uniquely Australian. The word mate or whatever might be semi-Australian unique, but the behaviour exists in all cultures. Are we really saying that Australians have rediscovered something or mateship that other cultures don't have? It's uniquely Australian, or that... And again, where did it go? The mateship spirit is returning. Where had it gone? And why has it returned? This is where things really started to sound like what I call insight or research theatre. When I say it's insight theatre, it's because of things like this. It's saying that Australians are coping through familiarity, control, and health. Now, last time I checked, Australians had extraordinarily high usage of antidepressants. I'm not going to pull up the numbers, but I know from memory it's one of the highest per capita we are one of the highest per capita users of antidepressants in the world. I think probably behind the Americans or something like that. Okay, so we're using familiarity, control, and health, but also antidepressants. And the other thing, we've got a huge juggernaut of a medicinal cannabis industry going in Australia now. So those prescriptions are up through the roof, apparently. Humongous amounts of prescriptions being written now for medicinal cannabis, which, as we know, also acts as a bit of an anxiety reliever, and it helps people sleep, and all of this sort of... Again, antidepressants, medicinal cannabis. Of course, we've got the age-old alcohol that does also used to cope with emotional pain and all that sort of stuff. It's not just for socializing, it's for the use of emotional pain. What that insight should really be saying is Australians are coping through familiarity, control, health, antidepressants, medicinal marijuana, and alcohol. Okay, now if the headline had said that, I would not have had an issue with it, because that's a fact. They are measurable behaviors. We know how many scripts are written. We know how many scripts are written for all of these things. We know how much alcohol is bought and consumed. It is all collected and documented. They're the facts. And I'm just scratching the surface. There's many other behaviors I could chuck in here as well that are measurable. Oh, this is another... Yeah, sorry, I should have chucked gambling in. Last time I read it, last year, Australians ranked first in the world, per capita, of course, first in the world per capita on gambling losses, not just gambling rates, but gambling losses. We are the biggest gambling losers in the world per capita. All right, so sorry, I should rewrite. Let's rewrite the insight now so that it is complete. Australians are coping through familiarity, control, health, antidepressants, medicinal marijuana, alcohol, and gambling. Okay, now, and that I would now be satisfied with that research insight. That's not even really an insight, is it? It's just a collection of data. You just bung them together on a chart. You can call it an insight. It's an insight. It's data. It's for real. But these are actual measurable behaviors. But no one wants to talk about that, do they? Marketing doesn't want to understand that. Why would you not want to understand that? Why would you prefer to think that Australians are coping through familiarity when they're not? You're selling products. I bet you the pharmaceutical industry is not listening to these insights, because if the pharmaceutical listening was listening to these insights, they must be looking at these insights and laugh. They must laugh because they know how much they sell. All right, so no one wants to talk about that. We'd rather talk about mateship and the Aussie spirit and the battler, because it sounds nicer, doesn't it? It sounds nicer. Just because it's nice does not make it true. It's just nice. It's also anachronistic. It doesn't exist in the way that these words suggest. Okay, look at Australia's demographic makeup today. And don't just look at it today, look at where it's heading. Look at Australia's demographic makeup in terms of the trajectory, where it is heading. And these words, Aussie battlers and mateship and all that sort of stuff, you'll see are going to be on the wane because we are becoming a far more international, global type culture, Australia. So let's look at insight number 2, which is, sorry, I'm laughing because just the words they're using are laughable. It's the fair play economy. Okay, here we go. It's called the fair play economy. Here we go. The fair play economy. Value hacking is on the rise. Dupes and deals juicing and everyday value are the new normal. Now, really, what is value hacking? Apparently, value hacking means I'm buying good quality for less. Now, and since when is this news? Since when is this news that we're trying to buy good quality for less money? Isn't the entire shift of goods, of manufacturing in Australia to mainly Chinese located factories, Vietnamese factories, Indian factories? Okay, you get the picture, right? East Asian and continental, subcontinental locations for our factories and manufacturing, and we all know why it went there, right? Isn't that a value hack? Taking our manufacturing offshore, producing the same quality and returning it to me at half the price. So I'm now able to buy Bonds t-shirts at half the price or a third of the price than when they were made up on the Central Coast because the factory moved to China. I can now buy King furniture at half the price of what I used to be able to buy when it was made in Australia because King Furniture moved its manufacturing base to China and therefore made its excellent furniture more available, more accessible. Is that value hacking? The fact that I can get King furniture for half the price than when I could, I don't know, making it 20 years ago or whatever it was when they moved? Is that value hacking? I don't know. And is that news? Presenting this as something, as a consumer awakening, it's just absurd. Let's be clear. Things like Amazon offering me discounted streaming or free delivery if I take up their streaming, or Woolies telling me it's an everyday low price. These are all retailer-led. These are all company-led, retailer-led tactics and strategies to get consumers to buy them. It's not value hacking from a consumer angle. It's retail-led. Of course we respond to it. Why wouldn't you respond to it? You're crazy not to. So calling all of this a fair play economy is just BS branding language on top of very basic economics that is not news in any way. Sorry, it's just not news in any way. So it's not even an insight. But insight number 3, or bogus insight number 3, a renewed pride in Australian made. Wow, okay. This is interesting. And the reason I say it's interesting before I even read the line is because the word Australian made has raised my heckles. Let's read the insight. There's a renewed pride in Australian made, nostalgia for simpler times, and a search for stability amid the chaos. Now, there are 3 absolute corkers in here. If I could use an anachronistic Australian expression to criticize an anachronistic set of insights, these are real corkers. So there is a renewed pride in Australian made. Let's deal with that one first because I love this one. Now, Australian made. Now, Australian made what? A renewed pride in a renewed. So this is the other thing, the language, a renewed pride. So does that mean that we used to be proud of Australian made, then we weren't, and now we are again? I'm talking about secondary industries, because when we say made in Australia, we don't really mean mining, do we? We don't really mean iron ore. That was made by nature. We're digging it up. Sorry, so it's not even, we're not even digging it up. Companies are digging it up and they're paying us royalties. When I say us, the government, they're paying us royalties to dig it up. Okay, so I don't call any of that Australian made. Agriculture is a bit different. It is Australian made. It's grown, but this is not what, I don't think this is what we're referring to. When we say pride in Australian made, I don't think we're referring to apples. Every country has its own produce as much as it can, right? As much as it can, given their geographical limitations or whatever the case may be. So I don't think we're referring to that. We're referring to manufactured goods, aren't we? We're referring to manufactured goods here. Renewed pride in Australian made. Now, what are we proud of exactly? Because when I look around me in terms of manufacturing, I don't see anything made in Australia. I look around my house and I don't see anything that is made in Australia. Refrigerators and microwaves and computers and clothes and shoes and all of those manufactured everyday goods that we interact with every single day, even musical instruments and stuff like that, I guess, if you want to get more esoteric, they're not made here. So how can I be proud of it? How? If they were made here, you could ask, but they are not made here. So what are we proud of exactly? Renewed pride in Australian made. For what? For what? What were these respondents referring to? What is, forget that. What are these insights referring to when they say we have renewed pride in Australian made? Because we just do not make anything here any longer in terms of manufacturing. And let's bring up another issue, which is also looking at the second bit of this insight, which is nostalgia for simpler times. Okay. Firstly, again, I'm going to go back to the demographic makeup of Australia and its trajectory again, because it's measurable. It's measurable. It's a fact. It's not theatre. It's a fact. It's measurable. And the trajectory is measurable and obvious. And that's the point. If we look at the demographic makeup and the trajectory of Australia, then pride in Australian made. Now, let me ask you, someone who's been in this country for 10 years, they might be a permanent resident. However, these people are from another country. Do we expect this very large population, an increasing population of people who are more recent arrivals from other cultures and other countries to be proud of Australian made? I mean, I don't know, if I'm a German, if I was born in Germany and living in Australia for whatever, and would I be proud of German made or Australia? It's crazy, right? It doesn't make any sense. Pride in Australian made. Given that so many high quality goods at good prices are made in China, are Chinese people proud of Chinese made? Why not? Why shouldn't, if Australians are expected to be proud of Australian made, and that's what these insights are telling us, Australians are, then it must be the case that the Chinese are proud of Chinese made, Vietnamese are proud of Vietnamese made, Germans are proud of German made. Is that the way it works? Is that what we're talking about here in this globalized world that we're living in right now? Is that really what we're talking about? German pride, Vietnamese pride, Australian pride at manufactured goods that are made here, whatever that means nowadays? Come on. And this also is the demography, but not cultural or racial demography, but rather age demography is irrelevant for this next part of this insight, which is the nostalgia for simpler times. Now, let's look at this. It's okay. Nostalgia is undeniably a powerful emotion, as Don Draper said.
Teddy told me that in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound.
Nostalgia, it is the ache of an old wound, and it's that. Therefore, it is. Oh, I ache for my lost youth. That's basic. I ache for my lost youth. If you're a parent, you will remember very happy times when your kids are very little, very young. And it aches. Like, it's beautiful, it's love, but it aches, right? That's what nostalgia is. And that's why it's powerful, because it bypasses the cortical brain and goes straight to the emotional brain. We've done a video on that. I don't know how many people watched it, but nevertheless, nostalgia is powerful, whatever. But when they say that there is this harking back on nostalgia for simpler times, they're not amongst whom? Me? Maybe. My parents, my old man, he's not even 90, he's just recalling everything about when he was a kid nowadays. He has nothing but nostalgia for when he was a child, okay? But that's because he's 91. My youngest daughter, 19 or whatever, I'm not sure she has nostalgia for simpler times. My oldest daughter, who's 30, I don't think she has nostalgia for simpler times. I don't think that entire generation has nostalgia for simpler times. What simpler times? Okay, so again, this is a very strange little insight that appeals to a certain demographic. Come on, older. And why? We're not nostalgic. Okay, we're nostalgizing simpler times. I'm hearing this on YouTube from so many YouTubers all the time, talking about what Australia was like and how it was better. And it all boils down to the fact that everyone thinks houses were cheaper back then, and they were a bit more affordable. There's no question about it. They were. But... right, what about the rest of life back then? About those times? Do you think they want to return to those times? Simpler times, really? Because houses were notionally more affordable for many people back then, when the population was also much smaller? Is this an insight? Is this an insight, or is it just BS nostalgia from old people? But it's not an insight. Simpler times are nothing more than selective memories about only certain little things. That's it. Whose nostalgia for simpler times are they referring to? And what about, again, what about all the migrants in this country who haven't been here when there were simpler times, which is like, what, freaking 40 years ago, right? Is that what this is referring to? I'm harking back to, 40 years ago when Australia was la, la, la. Come on, give me a break. And then they're saying they're searching for amidst the chaos. Oh, we're searching for stability amidst the Australia. Okay. In economics, everything is relative. There is no absolute. Everything is relative. So when you say Australians seeking stability amidst the chaos, compared to what other country is Australia in chaos? And I'll tell you, compared to what? No, there is no other country. Australia is the most stable country. So to say that Australians are looking for stability amongst the chaos in Australia, when it's the most stable, least chaotic country probably in the world. So compared to what? How is this an insight? Compared to whom? To what? Because if we are the most stable, least chaotic country in the world, then this is not an insight. Here's another one. Conscious consumption and sustainability. Now, conscious consumption is here to stay. What they mean by conscious consumption is that when I'm eating my Cadbury, I'm not conscious of eating. I'm sorry. So when I'm eating my Cadbury, I'm consciously eating it. I'm not unconsciously snacking on chocolate. Oh no, because no one does that, do they? No one unconsciously eats stuff. We're conscious, though. We're saying, no. I'm consciously eating this chocolate because Cadbury has a commitment to sustainability. That's what conscious consumption means, right? Or it doesn't have to be chocolate. It could be anything. I'm buying this refrigerator because it's got 5-star energy rating or something. You know what a 5-star energy rating means on a refrigerator? It means a lower electricity bill. That's what it means. It means a lower electricity bill. That's what people are looking for, okay? That's what they're rewarding. If you can save me on my electricity bill, then I will reward you. Okay, so here we go. And this is the beautiful line. Consumers expect brands to show genuine effort in sustainability and reward them. And I'm going to now type in, let's just do top 10 brands, Australia. Let's have a look at these brands. So apparently top ranked and trusted, because what they're saying is customers expect brands to show genuine effort in sustainability and reward them. Okay, so who are Australians rewarding the most at the moment in terms of brands in Australia? And according to this thing here, it's Bunnings. Okay, Bunnings, strongest, most trusted brand for hardware, home improvement, retail, and we're rewarding Bunnings. Now, Bunnings, are they Bunnings showing a genuine effort in sustainability? Are Bunnings showing genuine efforts in sustainability, and that's why we're going there? Is that what's going on? I've got to be honest. I look around Bunnings and look at where everything is made and all the stuff that's made and everything there and how cheap it is and everything. And I've got to be honest, sustainability is not really playing over the speakers at Bunnings, is it? No, not really. But do I care? No. And it's not me. It's the most rewarded brand in the country. Bunnings. Let's look at the other one, Woolworths. Okay, one of the most rewarded brands in the country is Woolworths. Are they sustainable? They've got a green logo. How could Woolworths be sustainable? Their energy requirements. When I say their energy requirements, it's our energy requirements because they're putting stuff in the freezer for us to buy. All right, it's for us. So the energy requirements alone of Woolworths and Coles and Aldi and all those alone must be absolutely astronomical. And I'm sure they're doing their best to use renewable energy for that. But let's face it, it's being fueled by coal, by non-renewables, by fossils, as we call them, fossil fuels. I don't know. Let's look at another one, another consistently high rewarded brand in Australia. They are retailers. Kmart. Again, Kmart reminds me of Bunnings. It's kind of got cheap goods at reasonable quality, all made overseas. Lots and lots and lots of clothes that I've seen many documentaries on the ABC, of course, about they're all ending up in landfill, all these clothes from Kmart and from not just Kmart, probably from everywhere, or not worn a couple of times, ended up in landfill because no one wants them. They value less, apparently. Kmart. Yeah, okay. Is Kmart, are we rewarding Kmart because it's sustainable? NRMA, can I go on? Should I go on? We, as a researcher of many years, I and many of my colleagues, no doubt, right, have studied sustainability a number of times. And my colleague and I, Nick Agafonov, have actually studied sustainability quite extensively once in an ethnographic project. And I will say this very plainly and simply, sustainability is an extremely weak and more often than not non-existent predictor of consumer behavior. This is a fact. Look at the big brands, look at the big products that we're buying, right? They're making some overtures to greening, little badges and this, that, and the other. But look, I'm not criticizing them. They can't. How can they be sustainable and provide all of that stuff? So sustainability is a weak predictor of behavior. It just freaking sounds good. Whatever, you know? What people say and what they do not align here at all. And to be honest with you, I don't even think that. A lot of people are not even saying it. They're just not even saying it. They put their stuff in the recycling. They use their little green thing, whatever. Consumers do not reward sustainability in any consistent way. If they do, it's very selective. And this is the other thing. We are consumers, we are all living in the information age when we are no longer reliant on information fed to us by the major corporations or the major governments. A lot of stuff about sustainability is constantly being debunked now. Recycling is being debunked, free range eggs. Go on YouTube and look up free range eggs and come back and tell me if there is a positive story on free range eggs on YouTube, unless it's put out by a manufacturer, okay? Anyone else who's mildly independent will come back and tell you the same thing about free range eggs and all that sort of stuff, right? Stuff about supply chains, where things are sourced, all that stuff. Trust is completely eroded in sustainability messages. Consumers have become a bit more cynical. So it stands to reason that as consumers are bombarded with huge amounts of data and information themselves, they're also becoming a little more critical because they've got to deal with all the information coming in. They've got to sort it. They've got to be critical because you've got to chuck some stuff out. You can't believe everything. We can only hold on to a certain set of beliefs. Okay, and the ones that we're going to hold on to are the ones that help us for our lives. And sustainability is really what we call part of the superego, kind of like a moral kind of crusade thing that people do not really pay any attention to when they are down in the trenches. Okay, when they're down in the trenches. And this is another thing about these insights. All these insights are in themselves contradictory. On the one hand, they're talking about we're living in chaos and crisis, and Australians are looking at mateship and resilience and all that kind of stuff and struggling. And then on the other hand, we're rewarding brands that are sustainable. Oh, yeah. No. So on the one hand, we're after value hacks, but then we're also rewarding brands that are sustainable. What are we doing? All of it? No. No chance. No chance. It's a big population. Some people are doing some things, some people are doing other things, but that's not what these insights are talking about. These insights are talking about Australian society, and so that's how we are critiquing them. Okay, and this last one, which I believe is one of the most disingenuous, which is in health we trust. Health is the new wealth symbol. I know what the new wealth symbol is, and I'll tell you, it's more wealth. Yeah, that's what the new wealth symbol is. The new wealth symbol is more wealth. Health is important but that's a kind of a motherhood. Since when do motherhoods, as we call them, motherhoods, fatherhoods, whatever the case may be, one's health is the most important thing? So what is that telling you? That doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't tell you anything. Health is obviously important. But I'll tell you what creates health more than anything. Wealth. Wealth creates health. There is no question about that. Health is not replaced wealth. Wealth has created health. The richest societies are the healthiest societies. The richest societies have the longest life expectancies. Australia has a huge life expectancy, right? Huge. And that's because we're wealthy. We're healthy because we're wealthy. This also comes down to an individual level. I'm not saying that because if you're rich, you can't contract some freaking terrible disease. Of course you can. But the point is anyone can. It doesn't matter about money. That's not what we're talking about. The money doesn't make you healthier, right? Obviously, I can't eat the money. I can't inject the money. What I can inject and eat the medicine that money buys. And the reason we're living longer is because we are rich enough to afford very expensive pills and medications. And they're not expensive because the pharmaceutical companies are ripping us off. They're expensive because this shit is hard to do. It involves a lot of knowledge, a lot of trial and error. The risks are monstrous. The certifications are extreme. Okay? But in the end, we get these little pills that we pay for as a society, and so that we can take them and keep as well the statins and the blood pressure pills and the someone I know very well is alive because of extraordinarily expensive medication that is on the PBS and therefore totally affordable, like almost free. It's wealth and it's pills and medications that have created health in our societies. Blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, publicly funded healthcare, which takes money, and money is wealth, is what is allowing people to live into their 80s and into their 90s. And then in the very same insight, we're told, oh, no, it's not the pills. Australians are focused on, get this, Australians are focused on visible strength, protein, and vitality. Come on. We're focused on mental health and therefore taking all of the different drugs necessary to achieve a better mental health. And we're focused on physical health, which means taking all of the drugs necessary to achieve a physical health and longevity. And of course, then the final line in these insights, in challenging times, authenticity, simplicity, and well-being matter more than ever. No, sorry, that's not what matters in challenging times. I tell you what matters in challenging times more than ever, wealth. But why? Because wealth buys access, wealth buys security, wealth buys options, wealth buys health, wealth buys every bloody thing. We know that though, don't we? We just don't like admitting it. Why? Because very few of us are very wealthy. But I'll tell you what, everything is relative. If you're living in Australia, if you have been born or have ended up somehow in Australia, whatever it means, you've won the global lottery. Why? Because we're wealthy. That's why. Okay, it's not just wealth. It's also about the distribution of wealth. I'm sorry. And again, Australia does okay, I know people are going to shoot me down for this, but probably relatively speaking to many other countries, distributes or allows its citizens at least to try and achieve some wealth. Maybe if it's not distributing equally, it is allowing opportunity, and that's why people are coming here. People are not coming here to be showered with money. They're coming here for the opportunity to create wealth, okay? That's what this place is all about. That's what Australia was always about. It was always about the creation of wealth and the amazing lifestyle that can come from the creation of wealth. I'm going to end this now because I've probably gone on a bit of enough of a okay, it's a bit of a rant, but I think it's for good reason. I don't like it when researchers ignore facts and ignore data and are presenting what I call insight theatre. It's all about making you feel good rather than giving you some plain old, honest, hard-hitting truths about Australia in 2026. I will leave it at that. Thank you very much if you've listened this far, and we will be speaking again very soon.